1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, 95.7 FM. Also, you can listen on the app. You can live stream this on the website, or you could just go to Facebook and watch this. And Tom Young is my guest, and I already know it's going to get wound up. People, your camera's on me. Is that a good idea for anyone?
I'm going to change it back to me, Eddie. Absolutely.
Tom Young is my guest. Tom Young is, I want to say, financial planner, and we talk about, but Tom Young is an interesting person, and just about anything can come up. You're live Facebook feeding this. This is being live Facebook fed on the station Facebook page. You can watch and put comments under there. I'm going to ask you a simple question, and I know that there's not going to be a simple answer. What are we talking about today?
What are we talking about? Well, we're going to continue the talk, the discussion about confiscation, because it's bigger than all the things that the more I get into this and the more I get into my head, it is so different than anything the financial world is talking about. And I have I have an article today I'll get to in a minute, but okay. I want to start our show today like we have a new precedence. We're going to start with a prayer. You know, we want to pray for everybody in the world, this Wuhan virus, wherever it came from, China, whatever, it's touched the lives of millions of people around the world. And we want to pray for people. We want to pray for the ones who have lost loved ones, and especially the loved ones that have been lost. And in the beginning, they stopped people from visiting, so there was a lot of people that died alone. And that's just hard to fathom that. But we pray the Lord would open his arms, gather them into his heaven above. In Jesus' name we pray. We need to keep that in front of us at all times. The power of prayer is beyond imagination. And there's no facts that say yes, no, or whatever, but it is what it is. And
right. You talk about, we're going to continue with confiscation. For people that weren't here the last time that you were here, get real quick up to speed on what you're talking about.
Well, a couple of months ago, we had Leonard Rainier as a guest online, and he talked about hiddenomics.
Yes.
Okay, that's the new book that he's coming out with here shortly. I just talked to him last week. Hiddenomics, and so much of the stuff that I talk about, it is hidden from everybody, and it is hidden from everybody almost purposely, because
isn't that the reason you hide stuff?
it is, Eddie. Yeah. It is. Here I have some quotes today.
Okay.
Here's one here. What we see is an interpretation of the mind. We have to train the mind to interpret what we see. Mental nearsightedness and farsightedness. The major distortion of mental vision, mental nearsightedness, you're apt to overlook objects and possibilities that are distant. You are blind to opportunity. Okay?
You're not looking forward ahead enough. Right? The nearsightedness, that means you're not looking to the future enough.
Right.
There's opportunities that you're not seeing down the road.
You're focused. Right. And really what it is, it leads me to the little George Lemming story, what I call the billionaire effect,
right.
The billionaire Lemming effect. And I've talked about this, but lemmings are little rodents,
yes,
and they have no leadership, okay?
Right.
And they're like all little rodents. And so little George Lemming got up one morning and he decided, today's it, I'm tired of living, I'm going to take my life today, I'm going to end it. He lived on the west side of town. Now, on the east side of town was a cliff, 400 feet down to the rocks in the ocean.
Okay.
So he got out the door and he just started to run as fast as he could go.
West side to east side.
West side to east side.
Okay.
And he's approaching town, and all the other little lemmings in town are saying, "Where's George going? Hey, George, he's running. Where's he going?" And everybody in town starts following George. Following along, and George gets out to the edge of the cliff, and wham, there he goes. He's off the cliff.
And he just goes?
And the town follows him right off the cliff.
So almost like a freedom convoy of lemmings.
Yeah, well,
they were hopping on as they were going. It's west side to east side.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Right.
So the lemming effect is what we have been. The financial world and government has created in us the way we think.
Okay.
And so the way we think is what I was talking about. We have been programmed. Now,
And
if you don't think we've been programmed, I have an article.
We've been programmed to not notice the confiscation.
We have been programmed to follow along like little good lemmings.
Okay.
Is what it amounts to.
East
Now,
side or west side.
right. Now, I've talked about the Fabian effect.
Yes,
you
you
know, the
have.
Fabian
The
Society. And that goes back 120 years, back into the 1800s. And it was about socialism and creating the wokeness that we have today. Now, this is an article, Wall Street Journal, yesterday. Okay? And it's the opinion page. It's basically what I read in the Wall Street Journal. All the rest of it's gunk, but I read the opinion. So the title of the article is Inside the Woke Indoctrination Machine. And it starts out after, now the author, Andrew Gutman and Paul Rossi, I'll give them credit, they wrote this article. After watching 100 hours of leaked video, we now fully grasp the danger of this ideology in schools. Now, I'm only going to read one little paragraph. You need to get this and read this article because it ties right in with the Fabian Society.
Okay.
And so here goes. No longer are private schools focused primarily on teaching critical thinking, fostering intellectual curiosity, and rewarding independent thought. The new mission is to train a vanguard of activists to lead the charge in tearing down the foundation of society, reminiscent of Maoist China's Red Guards. Now, I don't know about you folks, but just step back for a minute and let's try to see the big picture. It is time for America to wake up, for the good people. The silent majority is a large number. It's larger than half. I believe that, and I think when the silent majority gets pushed enough, they will wake up, and we see the wake up happening right now, and as of yesterday,
you're talking about the push and a pushback.
Push and a pushback.
Okay.
You can use the R word, and the R word, it's coming. You look at the truckers in Canada, and that's not happening just in Canada. It's happening all over the world.
Right, it is.
And people, and hopefully in some way, I help people wake up. That is my mission in life, is to touch 1 million lives before I graduate this earth. And hope they realize that the truth is in front of them, they can find it. I have it all the time. Everything I do is mathematically correct in facts.
Okay.
And I haven't said this for a long time, but here it is. Here's my $1,000 challenge. Anybody that can disprove any of the ideas and the things that I talk about, bring your facts. Don't bring Aunt Mary's ideas or Billy Bob from work. Bring your calculator. If you can disprove anything that I do, mathematically, financially for people, it's a $1,000 reward. Now, this goes all the way back to 1987, when Chris Shovlin was the host of Teleforum. I don't know if you remember that.
I wasn't here. I've known Chris a long time. I love Chris.
And I started this $1,000 reward in the 1980s, and over all these years, I've never had a taker. I'm just throwing it out.
Tried?
No.
Nobody's
I've
ever
never had a question or a challenge, and what I do. It just the confiscation.
Yeah.
That I talk about. What is that? Are they stealing my money? I don't know whether I could say they're stealing your money, but you're not paying attention to what they're doing.
If they're taking your money and it's your money and it's theft by ignorance. If I don't know, they're still stealing it.
Well, I refer to it as we lose money unknowingly and unnecessarily.
Right.
And that is the wealth of a lifetime, because I can show you it turns out to be millions of dollars over a lifetime that we lose unknowingly and unnecessarily, because I don't know whether we're lazy, we're unwilling, or we're so brainwashed that there isn't any new ideas.
No, we're lemmings. I absolutely agree with that. We get up and go to work in the morning because that's what we do, and we go home And I don't think of it like lemmings. I think of it, the hamster on the wheel.
Yeah, they never
for
gets anywhere.
For a lot of people's lives, that's what they do.
And it's we just got our head down and wading through life, and we're focused on the rats and snakes and mice at our feet that constantly nip at us instead of focusing on the power of a dream. I brought it's a little poem. Ah, great it is to believe the dream as we stand by the starry stream. But a greater thing is to live life through and say at the end, the dream came true.
How do you know what the dream is if you've been programmed to buy into someone else's dream your whole life?
That brings me, when I have a first meeting with a client, that first meeting is really, it's different kind of questioning than you would get from any other financial person. Because I want to know what you want, Eddie. In other words, we're going to talk about that in our first meeting. Where do you really want to go? There's a question that I ask people. It's DOS: dangers, opportunities, and strengths.
Okay.
And I get into people's heads and okay, what are the dangers that you see in the near term that you want to avoid or fix before they happen? Okay.
You're talking about financial things.
Financial things. In other words,
being poor.
I get from people losing my job, medical, something happens.
One medical incident can be 6 or 7 figures. You're
absolutely.
Right.
Because, there's 6 or 7 things that can happen. Death, disability, divorce. Okay?
All right.
Lose our job.
Okay.
Okay? Lose our job. Somebody sue us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, of just those 5, how many of those have to happen in order to crash your whole thing?
One.
Only one. And most people that I meet, they are not protected. They are not prepared for that. They're focused on the accumulation of money.
Right.
And the whole focus of the financial world is to get you to put money into your 401k. Because that gives them, remember the 4 rules. I want all your money, more ongoing, keep forever, give back as little as possible.
Yeah.
Well, the 401k is the perfect financial mechanism for the financial world to win.
It punishes
throughout
you.
Your whole, exactly.
Punishes you to try and get your money back early if you need to.
Oh, it does. And if you got to buy a car,
right?
You have a capital purchase. What are the things? Taxes, mortgages, qualified plans, college costs, and capital purchases. Those are the 5 areas where people lose millions of dollars over a lifetime. Average people, I'm not talking about people that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I'm talking about the average American making 80, 100, 120, 150,000 a year. They lose millions of dollars over their lifetime because they do exactly what the financial world tells them to do. Now, when you lose...
What do they tell us? They say, let us hold your money in some version, some form.
Exactly.
Okay. We'll take care of that for you.
Exactly. The whole purpose is they want to control. I want all your money, more ongoing, keep forever, give back as little as possible.
How do they get away with that? Is it just the Lemmings training, or is it I don't know if I'm just a layman, I can do all that. They'll do it for me?
It comes down to a simple concept. Eddie, a lie told often enough is easily believed. It becomes a truth, and it just it's what is, and people focus so much on material things in the world. Another little quote, okay? This is Ralph Waldo Emerson. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us.
I'm going to dwell on that for a second. That's deep. I had to read Emerson in school, and I don't remember anything being that good.
But it's down to, what do I talk about, Eddie? Personal growth.
Right.
Growth is not optional. You either decide to grow you by the books you read, the things, the information you gather, the people you listen to, where the world grows you into what they want you to be, and they take your wealth away from you. They take your wealth away from you, and it's just what it is.
Is that fearful for people to tell them? And everybody, New Year's resolutions. We just went through a new year, Tom, everybody comes up with their new resolution.
Everybody's
I'm gonna grow personally. I'm gonna grow spiritually. Is that a tough thing to take from saying it to actually doing the work to doing it?
I believe it is, but it comes down to one thing, and it's about making a decision.
Okay.
You know, people are maybe it's because they're unsure or what it is.
It's easier.
The easy way out
It's
is the direction of least resistance.
Yeah.
You know, is what happens to most people, because this is not easy. This stuff is not easy, and that's why, you know, my book, The Family Money Farm, the CFO Project. You know, families need to band together. I was on Debt Clock today.
Okay.
This morning before I left the house, I went on Debt Clock and I wrote down the new numbers.
Debt Clock.
usdebtclock.org.
All right, everybody, get your wallet out.
Here it is. We finally went over $30 trillion.
I know, I saw that. I was like,
$30 trillion.
Yeah.
That's 90,286 per citizen.
90,000?
90,000 per citizen. So if your family of five, can you multiply by 5, 90,000? That's 450 grand.
$500,000.
Per taxpayer.
Yeah.
238,808. Now you realize that 49% of the people in America don't pay federal income tax.
Yeah.
Almost half.
I got to get on that good half.
The revenue is $4,058,000,000,000. They spent $7,076,000,000,000.
Well, there's your problem right there, Tom.
They were $3.5 trillion in the hole.
Okay. Wow.
4 to 7.
So
$3 trillion. $3 trillion in the hole. Okay. Now let me go back. Let's go back in time. 10 years ago.
Can we back up to where I don't owe the government $250,000 for having the audacity to be a taxpayer? How far back can we go?
I went back 10 years.
Okay.
10 years. The debt of the government was $14,909,000,000. So in 10 years, it went from $14,909,000,000 to $30 trillion.
We doubled it.
Doubled it in 10 years. Now, doubled it in 10 years. Now, Tom, what's the rate of return on that? What interest rate would it take to double money in 10 years? You ever heard of the rule of 72?
No.
72 is a quark number in our mathematical system. So if you take the number 72 and divide it by the number of years,
okay,
it tells you what the rate of return was to double your money.
Okay.
So if my money doubled in 10 years, the debt doubled in 10 years, 10 into 72 is 7.2. So it's growing at 7.2. Is your life growing? Is your savings and cash and everything growing at 7.2?
No. No, the interest rate alone, the inflation rate alone, it's going the other way.
So they tell us. Remember, this is the government telling us.
True.
Remember, go back. The wokeness.
The wokeness.
You know, inside the woke indoctrination machine, and I believe that is being unveiled right now. And just a comment as we're coming up on the news. What do we got? A couple minutes.
Yeah.
And
I love when we do shows. I don't got to do nothing. I just sit here and ask you questions.
I am so fired up, and I'm just why aren't people getting angry? I mean, we had an attempted coup in America by our own woke internal deep state government. We tried to destroy Donald Trump to get him out of the presidency while he was. It's now Durham. Now, this is not conspiracy theory anymore, folks. This is fact. And then more coming. The people have got to get angry enough to take our country back from these idiots in Washington, D.C.
You're applying logic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would think, you know, I've said this in the past, to be 72 years old, I'll be 73 this year, and to sit and watch kids coming out of college, burning the American flag, hating America, and all of this, where did it come from? It comes from the indoctrination that is going on by these blank politicians. Remember the word politics? You remember that word, politics? Poly is many, ticks is a blood-sucking insect. Sorry, folks.
No,
I'm fired
we're
up
going-
today,
no, we're going
and
to
I
break.
really don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks or says. I'm here to help people, to wake them up in some way, somehow.
I want to go to break on the highlight of that joke. That's
So
funny.
what-
You
so
tell
what-
the joke again, then we'll go to news. What does the word politics mean?
Politics.
Means many.
Poly is many. Ticks are blood-sucking insects.
Tom Young's My Gas News is next on Teleforum. Yeah, go out on the punchline. Sell it. Like the episode of Seinfeld when George go out on the high. Anytime he said something people would react to, he'd instantly leave the building.
Hi, folks. Watching from Africa.
Hi, Africa. It was 8 degrees when I drove to work this morning. What is it there? It was. I drove across the bridge. I looked up and said 8. I'm like, oh, man.
It is just. I am.
But
At
this
wit's
woke
end.
stuff and the indoctrination stuff, that's been going on way
Well, that's the
before
whole
now.
point of it, Eddie.
But
It's the whole
it's
point.
speeding up. But
Right.
here's the deal. Here's the deal. There are going to be some people that,
But they don't care. They don't care.
well, you can't make people care.
No.
You can explain to them why they should, and that might get some to care. But the idea of forcing someone to care, you're beating your head against the wall. You don't, you know, the old saying, you don't get flies with vinegar, you get them with sugar.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. But that indoctrination crap, I had professors in school that were every bit the left wing the whole trip. Everything they did. You're sitting there going, dude, just tell me what's on the test. There are always going to be some people that don't buy into any of it. There are other people that aren't. Lemmings is exactly right.
Well, the personality assessment education that I went through, 70% of the people are susceptible to be led and their followers. That's 70% of the people are easily manipulated.
If you told me to guess a number, I would have guessed at least 75%.
70%.
At least. No, people, it's you said it exactly right. The path of least resistance. If I do this, I don't have to think about it anymore. Okay, I'll just do this. You're applying logic.
Logic.
Yeah. And that's an incredibly beneficial. and
Well, logic
incredibly-
comes right along with that common sense stuff.
Right. Right. It's incredibly beneficial if you can apply it, but it's also incredibly frustrating when you see it not being applied on the planet.
Don't know. It just.
Yeah, you're talking common sense. And there are some people that aren't going to listen to it just because it's not what they've been told their whole lives.
Well, they
It's
see
back to the
even
indoctrination.
what we were talking about, about Trump and all the stuff that went on the last 5 years.
Right.
It has been said so often that people have. It is now a belief that he is not a good guy, not a nice man, and it was all built on all of the lies for 5 years that were perpetrated by what to most people is the respected news media.
Dude, I'm in the news media. Don't ever take anything at face value from the news
Well,
media.
you and I know that,
That's
Eddie.
that story,
but
that's that story in Norwin.
But the guy on the street doesn't know that.
Everybody has an agenda. Everybody.
Uh,
Everybody.
we have talked
My
about
agenda, half the time, my agenda is, okay,
to get through the day.
This story fits the 3 minutes I got left. I'll do this story. All the news that prints to fit, How long till we come back, Curtis?
About a minute or so.
And then I'll run next door and interview somebody about brain damage. I'd rather do this.
Well, I hope I'm
Different kind of brain
entertaining
damage.
when I come, Eddie.
The stuff I say on the air about when you show up. You and I, there are some things that you say that I totally agree with. There are some things you say that I don't agree with.
Well, that's the wonderfulness of two people.
Right.
But that's
it's an
missing in our
example
society
It's an
today.
example of being able to function in spite of
Right.
not always thinking, path of least resistance, much easier to go.
I tell everybody the same thing. Do your own research.
Yep.
Invest some time and do your own research. If you don't believe what I'm talking about, go here. Check it out. Go read. Go check
The
it out.
information exists.
Absolutely.
It does exist, and it is accessible.
Absolutely. So it's just amazing.
Getting ready to come back? Rather?
We're on weather.
Oh.
Whether we're going to do it or not, huh?
Yeah. This is your last time to decide.
Whether we're coming back or not. Hey, folks, we're on break right now, so
Get ready, about
Yeah.
15 seconds.
15 seconds, we'll be live again. Here we go.
You're live right now.
Huh? Oh,
You're live right now.
I'm there.
Put that, I don't need that.
All right.
1230 WBVP. You're live whether we're doing this or not. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WNBA, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, 95.7 FM. The show's being broadcast, or excuse me, the show's being Facebook Live filmed right now. I am with Tom Young of First Consultants, and during the news, Tom's got his own feed with his own Facebook stuff going. He said, "We'll be live here in 15 seconds." Tom, we're live all the time.
Where?
You talking about a society that's overlooking us? You don't assume that there's cameras watching us all the time anyway? That there's things like this already listening to us anyway? You're talking about
that's
technology
true. That's
and
true.
woke
Well,
and surveillance.
you know,
and all
if you don't
that.
believe me, Eddie, where does it say right there? What does that say? Can you read that?
I can't read.
I'm
that.
watching from Africa.
Oh, hi. Hello
you know.
in Africa. It was 8 degrees when I drove in this morning. How is it there?
So it's P.R. Japheth from Africa.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
It's supposed to be 40 tomorrow. We're living the dream, man.
Anyway, let me finish up the U.S. debt clock. We were talking about current.
We just went over $30 trillion.
$30 trillion.
Yeah.
$30 trillion. I have a couple other little facts. The unfunded liability, this is Medicare, Medicare Part A, B, and D, Social Security, and pensions for government and military.
The stuff that I need to keep me alive.
This is the promises that the politicians have made over the years to deliver to you some amount of money or benefit
That they took
in
away.
your retirement years.
Right.
Okay. $164 trillion.
That's a lot.
$377 billion is the current promise. That's 494,000 per citizen, Eddie. It's 1,232,000 per taxpayer. So add the two together, the debt and the unfunded liability, it's 1,472,480 per taxpayer. So can you start making the mortgage payment on that?
No. No.
I
don't
think
even
the
have
mortgage payment on that would be about $10,000 a month.
I don't have to even pretend to try and do the math in my head. No. When I had a mortgage payment, I couldn't make a mortgage payment like that.
There needs to be this year, there needs to be a complete awakening in Washington. We need to vote out anybody that's been there more than 10 years. That's my thoughts. We need a revolution of voting.
A grassroots term limits ideal.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And because obviously these people, they have no concept of being accountable for our money, because this is our money.
For anything. Not just our money.
Exactly.
For anything.
Anything. You know, it was just like, I'll bring up, the crack pipes this week. That the president was going to give $30 million to buy crack pipes to give to the crack addicts.
Yeah.
So, and give them a place where they could go and be safe, smoking their crack and shooting up their heroin. And I'm
30 million here, 50 million there.
well. They also 164 million to George Soros and his organizations that are part of this wokeness and indoctrination of America. So we are absolutely completely out of control.
Do you think that's feasible? Going back to the 10 years and you go do something like Chuck Noll used to say, now, after 10 years in Washington, you go do your life's work. at a grassroots level. I think that's a brilliant idea, but do you think that's feasible? The internet, social media would give you a chance at it. Up to a point.
If they didn't suspend my account.
That's up to a point.
So now we have censorship. So to follow this path that I'm talking about, the big techies that are part of the problem, they would prevent some of this from happening. I mean, some of the stuff I've talked about, and I can't say that they have officially blocked me, but I've had a couple of shows that I've done, and all of a sudden they're gone. It's not there anymore. I do this every day, and it's gone.
When one shows up not there, it's no.
It's like the money, the little characters. What are the cartoon characters? The little kids.
South Park.
When they went into the bank. Remember we talked about that.
Yeah.
He goes into the bank and he puts the money in the bank, and the banker sits there. It's gone,
and it's gone,
and it's gone.
Thank you.
And the little old lady comes in and sits there and gives him the money. Oh, and it's gone, and that it's just what it is. So when we make decisions, let me do something constructive. We've ranted here. I've ranted now.
You came and wound up. I know to stay out of the way.
But here's another statistic. In the year 2000, there was 159 million workers in America. Right. Population was about 280 million. 280 million. Today, it's over 330 million.
Right.
So we've added 50 plus million people. And the workforce today is 157 million. So here's a problem that again, we're trying to create a vision for the future to help us make better decisions today. So here's the vision for the future. Number one, people are living longer.
Markedly longer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And all of those benefits we're talking about here, now there's fewer people paying into the system.
Okay, yeah.
What does that tell you, Eddie?
It's going to run out before I probably will be okay with it running out.
And the dollar's going down in value at an accelerating rate.
Yeah.
So how do we solve that? I don't think it's possible for us
I'd say
to solve the government.
Yeah.
And other than what I said a minute ago about we need to stand up as the majority in America,
right,
and vote people out of office. We need to stop listening to their arrogant conversation about they're going to do this and they're going to do that. They've been saying we're going to do this and we're going to do that for years and years and years, for decades, and they haven't done any of it but squandered our money and squandered the country.
While we're talking about politics and money, I want to get your opinion on something because I know you've had thoughts about both. Do you believe somebody can run for a major office without being indebted? Because we're seeing that in Pennsylvania. We're seeing the tens of millions of dollars that it takes to run for office. And we're seeing the last meeting that Mehmet Oz had before he announced his candidacy was with donors. Do you believe that anybody can run for office? Because if I owe somebody, they give me $10 million, I run for office.
Well,
they're probably in my ear.
Let's talk about the difference.
Okay.
And I use Trump as an example. I don't know this for a fact. All I know is what I have read and heard and seen.
Okay.
Trump didn't have any mega donors. Trump used his own money, and his donors were all small donors. I think the average was like $15, $20, $30 was the average donation.
Okay.
So if we limit the size of donations in some way, we could sort of solve what you're talking about, Eddie.
Well, you're talking about
being
you're talking about
the
PACs.
being owable to somebody,
right?
That where they donated tens of millions of dollars to my, well, here's an example. What about Zuckerberg and his $300 million buying the drop boxes and spreading the money around the Democratic precincts so that they could get out more vote and stuff more ballot boxes. And the new movie that's coming from Dinesh. Have you seen the advertisements or the trailer for the new movie from Dinesh? And it's 2,000 Mules is what the name of it is, and they, because of people's cell phones are trackable. You just said it a minute ago. They hear it. They know everything we're doing.
They can.
Well, they tracked all these people. The one guy he actually turned over, and they paid him $43,000 to stuff ballot boxes in Georgia. Now, that's one guy, but he says that all across America, and they
Right.
have video of people doing what we're talking about. I don't know what all's going to be on this video, but when this video with Dinesh comes out, everybody needs to watch it.
Why weren't those videos taken to law enforcement?
They all were. I mean, all these videos are off of cameras and stuff that existed. I mean, no matter where you go, pretty much everything is a video. They can find a
Absolutely.
video of you almost everywhere now.
When you leave the house, I think London is number one, but it's everywhere. In London, if you go out for an 8-hour day, you've been videotaped over 5,000 times with different cameras. United States isn't quite, well, major metropolitan areas absolutely are. But there are
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
assume, just like you assume when you hold a phone, somebody can be possibly listening. When you go outside, something is watching you at all times.
What I have started, my habit is I actually turn my phone off
Okay.
more often than anything else. Whatever I'm doing, unless I'm actually doing something with my phone, I have it turned off. Now that means, I guess, people can't call me if my telephone's off,
Right.
but that also means that people can't find me. Now that doesn't mean they can't track me.
Oh, no.
In that phone, it's in there.
Well, how tough is it to change the way the process is? Talking about 10 years and vote them out. How tough is it to change the process so fundamentally, while at the same time, as a society, we're totally buying into the process, overlooking us at all times?
No
and we're
question.
agreeing to it.
It's the same as the TikTok thing. I had TikTok on my phone for a while, and I took it off. I mean, it's a Chinese company.
I was gonna say, it's a Chinese company.
It's a
You
Chinese
assume.
company, and you know what? The biggest thing that those people do, and it's all the way to retail, they monitor your habits.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember the billionaire Lemming effect.
Yeah.
No, the billionaire Lemming effect is they gather together the lemmings,
Yeah.
and they put ideas in their mind. George Soros, they put ideas in people's mind, and they get them doing things in a certain way. And if a few do it, then more do it, and then more do it, because remember, people are easily susceptible to become followers.
Nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd.
Like, exactly. So now all of a sudden, now they have things they want to sell you, and so they have positioned you so they can sell you stuff.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. It's no different than sales funnels on the internet. If you don't know what a sales funnel is, go in and do a search on an internet search engine and put in their sales funnels, and you will be blown away, because sales funnels are the new websites of the future on the internet.
Sales funnels?
They're called sales funnels.
Okay. I have no idea what that is.
Sales funnels.
I'm going to have to
So
look
if you
it up
go to
now.
the internet, think of the last time you went on the internet to find something, Eddie.
Yesterday.
Did you find what you were looking for? How often do you find what you're looking for and find it quickly? Or do you have to dig through all of these pages on somebody's website to actually get?
If you search something on, for instance, Google, you will get the information. It will be about a half page down after the ads trying to sell you what you just searched
Right,
for, whether
right.
you're buying it or interested.
Well,
or
the
what.
idea of a sales funnel is the sales funnel is built on the product and the idea that you're selling, so that it's easy to find for those that are looking for it.
All right.
That's what a sales funnel is.
Okay.
And a guy
Next
named Russell Brunson, and he has a company called ClickFunnels that I use. I mean, I have a couple of sales funnels that I have up and operating. But he awakened me to ideas to get to more people, get my information out
Target
in a
your
better way.
demographic in a more economic manner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, in the bottom line, it comes down to when we make decisions. There are 5 things that we have to overcome in
Okay.
order to achieve ultimate or maximum financial results in our life.
Okay.
5 things. Number 1 is risk. You have to figure out and define what risk really is.
To you.
Exactly. Now, we relate risk to the stock market. Okay.
Yeah. Up this week, down next week. and
Exactly.
then I won, I lost.
The majority of people ride the roller coaster, and in riding the roller coaster, it's an emotional
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
an emotional nightmare.
Well, it's the same chemicals that are kicked up in your brain when you gamble, because
I
that's
don't-
what you're doing. You're gambling.
I don't manage people's money.
Mm-hmm.
I gave up my trading license, so I don't sell stocks, bonds, mutual funds
Okay.
anymore. And what I have now is I have two of the largest money managers in the country as far as success is concerned. Howard Capital Management is one. And it's really the difference between passive management of my money, my investments. We're talking about risk now.
Right.
Okay, investment type things. And investments have risk. So the last time the market took a big tumble, the average person, they're watching the news at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're on the phone trying to call their broker, get me out, get me out, get me
Sell,
out,
sell.
sell. And it's too late. You've already, the roller coaster is the inevitable.
If you see
you're
it
riding to
going,
the bottom.
it's happening.
So,
Okay.
so I only believe in active management. And active management is where you have a money manager that you have given the authority to take your money out of the market on any given day. Okay? And they watch. Now, Howard Capital is an algorithm, and they call it a byline. And the byline, if you think of a spider web,
All right.
okay, a big spider web, and every tine of that spider web, if you touched one time, the big black guy in the middle knows you're there.
Yeah,
He's coming for lunch.
the spider's
He's
head
coming
pops
for
up.
you.
Oh, I got food, yeah.
Right, I got food coming.
Yeah.
So that spider web in the market as an algorithm, every movement in the market sends a message. Now here's an example. March of 2000. The pandemic, the market crashed in
yeah.
March of 2000.
The middle of March.
My active manager started going to cash the middle of February. So all of my accounts, all of my clients, nobody experienced more than a 10 or 12% downturn when the market went from 29,000 on the Dow to 19,000 on the Dow.
Wow. So you're talking about
So
almost
so
half.
they that's right. So the mission of Howard Capital is to capture as much of the upside of the market and avoid the bottom.
And they need the freedom to make the decisions on the fly.
And that
to
year,
do
from March till the end of the year, when they went back into the market, I have clients that made 30% plus rate of return between then and the end of the year. Now, that's not a guarantee of anything for the future.
Right.
And past performance is not indicative of anything in the future. But I have money managers that literally, in 30 years, they have avoided almost all of the big downturns. And that makes a huge difference. Now, that's risk. The
Right.
next one is taxes. People pay more taxes than they have to because of the way they're set up financially. If you don't pay a lot of taxes now, you will later when you go to get your 401k out of the account.
Right.
Because when you take money out, the government's standing at the door and it passes through their hand before it even gets to you.
It's like a casino check. They get theirs before you do.
Exactly. And then regulations on top of that. How do you get around regulations? And I use dividend paying whole life insurance. I've talked about that product. It's only available in less than 1% of the entire insurance marketplace. And it's where you actually are part owner of the insurance company. Life insurance companies are the most profitable businesses in the country. They have been for 150 to 200 years. And they're the only people that can say we have never lost a dollar of your cash value. That's why the banks, the Federal Reserve, it messages and communicates with their member banks
Yeah.
that whole life insurance has the least chance of risk or default. But say it again.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve telling their member banks that this type of life insurance, these life insurance companies, they're all over 100 years old. There aren't any new ones. They're all old companies.
Okay.
There's the least chance of default in the position. And maybe that's why if you go, now here's a fact, Huntington Bank, here in the Valley, we all know Huntington Bank, they're worth $3.292 billion in their tier one money. Now this is several years ago, so this information is outdated a little bit, but it hasn't changed. Maybe the numbers are bigger, but basically hasn't changed. 41% of that $3.292 billion is in cash value life insurance. Did you hear what I said, folks?
Almost
The
half.
banks put their money in cash value life insurance. not in a savings account. So where are you putting your money? And that leads me to my book, and we're about out of time. We never did any break story this hour, Eddie. So you're going to have to do a couple extra next hour.
That's all right. Any what stories? What kind of stories did we miss?
We didn't miss any stories.
Yeah.
But we didn't do any commercials. So
That's it. You know what?
I paid. I wrote
easier.
Mark a check this month, so I paid for my hour. So the other people.
It's way easier to move a commercial than to stop somebody talking. You talk as long as you want to talk.
It is just it eats me up.
Mm-hmm.
Regulations are another thing, and that's the story I told last month. That's a conspiracy theory in my new book. I don't have a title for it yet. But in the early
That's the best title.
1900s,
If it's a conspiracy theory book, it shouldn't have a title.
in
People should
the
try to
early
figure it out.
1900s, the Rockefellers, the Mellons, the Carnegies, the Rothschilds, these people were all billionaires at the turn of the last century,
Yeah.
based on the value of money today, and they all created trusts for their wealth. Rockefellers, the Rockefellers are worth $500 billion today,
Good work.
but they have all this money they've never paid taxes on.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Now, how do I know that's true? Just study Hillary and Bill, their foundation. So we're getting signals. So
Yeah.
we're getting signals.
Tom was on a roll today. Well, you know
I'm
what?
gonna let it go there. We're gonna come back next month.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk more about my new book and the conspiracy theory of the wealth and how they wanted the IRS created so nobody could ever create the wealth that they had.
By then, will it have a title?
I don't know.
All right.
It's
I'll work
still,
on some titles for you just in case.
Okay, Eddie.
Tom Young with First Consultants has been my guest on Teleforum this first hour. News is next.
Bring them on camera. Bill Hawkins. There's Eddie. Say, Eddie.
Hi, Eddie.
Say hi to Bill Hawkins.
Bill Hawkins. Hi, Bill. Bill's not the guy that was watching from Canada.
No.
right?
Bill is from. I think Bill Hawkins is located in Florida. So
Oh.
here's the studio, and here's what it looks like in front of me.
Cameras and Curtis.
Bill Hawkins.
Dude, that hour goes so quick. That's so.
I'm gonna run a few.
We'll see you, everybody.
Did I mess up?